Jet setters, here we go. Aussie 10-year bond futures. This is the 10 years because they move around a little bit. 3 years, like every other Reserve Bank in the world, they just anchored them at effectively zero, so they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But the 10 years, they tell a bit of a different story. Here's the monthly, so we can see what's going on here. That's the big sell-off that happened also in the US. The Aussie bonds actually really outsold the US ones significantly, and they couldn't break that trend line. As you can see, it's come back pretty swiftly. Now, a few things about that line that are interesting. A bit of a natural point, and when you look at interest rates, it kind of does the same story like over and over again. It kind of sells off to a point, rallies back to the previous point, comes back again, comes back, right? So there's a pretty good case in a way to say beware of the Aussie going back down here to 77, because that's kind of what happens, and if it breaks there, then they're going to zero. Insane. But that's kind of what happens. I've been short the futures, so along the rates, basically because I've got a margin loan, and if interest rates hike there, then my carry trades just will get absolutely smoked. I've been smoked on being short the Aussie 10-year futures before. It wasn't a lot of fun. So it could well happen again. Buy this for education, jet setters. If you want to trade and you do your homework and get a good advisor and work with someone that's qualified, these are just my trading stories and a bit of education for you. If we actually go back longer than this, you can see the structural decline in interest rates. It's been going back like forever and a day. I remember when I first started working, like in '89, the interest rate in my cash management trust was like, I was earning 16%, right? Can you imagine getting 160 grand on $1 million these days? These days you get like $1,000 for having $1 million in the bank. So in Australia, and worldwide, it's not so much that house prices have gone up, it's just that money is increasingly worthless, right? The houses are exactly the same. But anyway, so this is really what's been going on in the Aussie, and why I'm short it. Really, I'm convinced the inflation genie is out of the bottle, and that raising rates is going to be the way they're going to head. All the central banks are signalling that. I think it's going to happen. Where is it going to go to? I guess that's another story. This is the daily. What's been happening lately? I guess you can see why it's kind of like had a bit of a pause down here. I mean, that was the breakout point. A lot of people with breakout points, that the thinking is if something breaks out, there's a really good chance when it comes back, it's going to come back to where it broke out. That's exactly where it came back to. I don't know how it fits in with the Fibos. That'll be like a deep retracement. Yeah, deep. I mean, you can argue, well, it's almost like 100%, right? But it's below, deep retracement. And as far as where it's come back to, that was really the breakout point there. Yeah, right, there we go. Yeah, that was the level, that 170, where you can see it a bit more clearly on the candlesticks. That was kind of where it really broke out from. Like you can see that support line through there, and where it came back to is like really bang on that 38. Makes sense for it to have a bit of a pause there. Let's go down to 4 hourly. I like looking at the 4 hourly when it comes to trading. Anything lower than that, you get a fair bit of noise. The 4 hours is pretty good, and you can see from here, this trend line, like that downtrend, it definitely broke. That was the level we were looking at before, and the way it's unfolding now is pretty clearly, higher highs, higher lows. Where is it going to go to? I think there's a good chance for it to come back to one of these Fibos. Like that 41 level. I mean, that'd make sense because that 41 level, there's a bit of resistance there, comes back, breaks it, support, comes back, and as I said, when we look at the the longer time frame, that's what goes on, right? It comes down, bounces like there, comes back to that support, previous, the previous support level, which is resistance, comes back, same thing down in here. So when we go down the 4 hours, it's the same pattern. I mean, this is why people get stuck in fractals, right? It's the same thing. Came down, support broke down, comes back, resistance was there. Next level of resistance, it's going to be that support there, right? Which it almost came back to here. That's a very good shit. So that's one of my targets. I guess my bigger term target though is really keeping an eye on this trend line to see what happens there, and if it starts approaching that one, which in terms of the time scale, there's a remarkable correlation to the level where it broke down, right? Like, if it kind of starts breaking down, let's adjust that one. If it starts next few weeks, hits here, that'll be an interesting time. Good target, take profits. Telling time for the markets as far as is it going to break this like 30-year down trend. Who knows? Not me, my friend. As for me, I'm staying short. I mean, it's in yield, so short like the bonds, and keeping a very wary eye on some of these levels, like around here, to see what if it breaks there. All right, have a good week. Catch you later, jet setters.